Today, we're diving into something that every mompreneur needs to hear: how to focus on what you can actually control and finally stop burning energy on everything that you cannot control. I've been rereading Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and this idea of the circle of influence versus the circle of concern hit me very hard, especially as a mother and an entrepreneur trying to, juggle and balance it all. So in this episode, I am breaking down what really means inside your business, your motherhood, your mindset, how to basically shift from overwhelm to clarity, how to lead with calm confidence, and how to step into your role as a vision-driven CEO. Because if you are just spending energy on all this shit that you cannot control, you're wasting that energy. And I don't want you to be wasting energy. I want you to be using it perfectly to grow your business, to live a more balanced life so you can have more time with your kiddos or anything else that matters the most to you. And so I dove into these 2 circles that he describes in his book. I'll explain them to you, of course. And then I asked my friend ChatGPT to analyze for me where I'm actually wasting that energy on what I think I can control, but actually I can't. And I think that the points that it gave me could be of a lot of interest for you as well. So if you're ready to take your power back and build balance that actually lasts, this one is for you. Hi, I'm Ayla, and I am not that kind of CEO. You won't find me in a fancy corner office, but rather in a quiet corner of my home. I followed a bold vision and built my life and business around it. That's how I ended up in France, where I'm raising 2 little girls, renovate our 500-year-old castle together with my husband, run a coaching business, and still have space to breathe. After a decade of helping women simplify their business to make room for what matters most, I created this show to help you do the same. Let's build your business around the life you love. Welcome to Not That Kind of CEO. Hey love, welcome back to Not That Kind of CEO. I am so glad that you are here. I have been just a little life update. I don't know if you care. You can skip ahead if you don't. We are just coming back from a school holiday, which we've spent in Holland. So we live in France and then we go back to Holland in the vacations, not all vacations, but the last time that we went actually was the first time in 2 years, so we're not going that often. But this time we went because we had a new niece that has been born. Nephew. I'm just French words, Dutch words, and I'm saying niece instead of nephew. My sister-in-law had her first baby, so we went to visit them and see baby Max. And then, unfortunately, my husband's grandmother died, like the moment we crossed the border into Holland, she died. Luckily, he already said his goodbyes over the phone. Having that happen also meant that he could be there for the funeral and be there for his family. So that was actually a nice sort of good timing, a good coincidence. And yeah, we had 2 fun weeks. Holidays like that are always super busy because when we're there, we want to see all the friends and all the family. And we want to do all the things. And the kids were waking up at ridiculous hours. They were just out of control and they were so tired. And then even though they were tired, I was just hauling them all over the country and going to the zoo and going to the animal farm and going to the playground. And we went. Anyway, I'm exhausted after 2 weeks of a holiday. I always plan the first day back to be really calm and maybe get some stuff off my to-do list, but I'm not actually pushing myself a lot. I just want to get back into the rhythm again. So that's what I've been doing yesterday. And today I'm back recording. During the holiday, I got some coaching from my mentor, James Wetmore, and I was complaining to him that I didn't know how to grow my audience. He coached me on it for a bit, and we decided that I'm actually doubling down on the podcast and on YouTube. I already recorded a lot of podcasts with video, so I'm going to be editing them and posting them onto YouTube as well, and I'm going to be creating some shorter videos because these podcasts are always, I always talk. So these podcasts are always a minimum of like 20 minutes. And for YouTube, I also want to create some videos that are a bit shorter, little nuggets of wisdom. And yeah, it actually feels really good to finally have made a decision that YouTube and podcasts are going to be like my main vehicles, platforms, words, and then I'm repurposing a lot of that content to use on Instagram and TikTok, and still also recording talking head reels for Instagram, because in the end, that's where you all hang out mostly. But I'm going to be focusing on YouTube the most because Instagram is fun, but I'm one of those people who really gets into shiny object syndrome on Instagram. And if you just do this trick with this reel, then you'll grow your audience. And you should really use this kind of hook, and comment 50 hooks to get 50 hooks to reel in your audience. And it's actually costing me a lot of energy. And I just want to be here and share what I know. So hopefully you can learn from what I have learned along the way. And short form content is not really the thing to do that for me. I want to provide lessons. I want to be out there. I want to be connecting with my people. And for me, the podcast and podcasting with a camera is basically what YouTube is the way to do it. So yeah, fun times. All right. I will actually now let you off the hook with me talking about myself and teach you things that I know, as I just promised that I would. So hopefully you'll learn from this. And actually, these things gave me a few fruit bombs, and I have been adjusting ever since I learned from it. And it's been really helpful. So I'm hoping it's really helpful for you too. So today we're going to be talking about stuff that you can do something about, and then stuff that you can't do anything about. Most importantly, the gray area of stuff where you think you can actually do something about it, but in reality, you can't. And if you're now going, that sounds unclear, it's true. But I'll explain it to you in a moment. This is coming from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that I've been rereading, and it's been interesting. These are actually his circles of concern and the circle of influence, which I'll explain to you in a sec. What's interesting here is that I've been deep diving into what can I actually do something about and what can't I do something about. And then I asked my chat GPT to tell me where I think that I can actually do something about something, but actually I can't. And it was such a mirror of truth, if you will. And I think that the areas that it gave me are applicable to a lot of other mompreneurs, mothers, entrepreneurs out there. And so I figured I'm going to share it with you. So first off, you have these circles. They are your circle of concern and your circle of influence. Your circle of influence is everything that you directly have an impact on. And that's not a lot, because it's basically just you. It's the way you respond to things. It's the way you choose your words. These are your habits. They're the priorities that you put out. It's everything that you directly can control, can influence. Your circle of concern, however, is everything that you actually do care about, but you can't do anything about it. So these are things like the economy, the algorithm, other people's mindsets or moods, your kids' future, because that's what they choose themselves, but you do care about it deeply. And it's something as simple as the weather. You care about it, but you can't do anything about it. There's one big mistake a lot of people are making. I am guilty of it myself as well. This is where you do try to influence your circle of concern. Remember, those are the things you can't do anything about. And you're putting a lot of your energy there. So, I mean, if I tell you you can't control the weather, you just go, yeah, duh. If I tell you you can't control your kid's future, you might actually start to push back a little, because you think you can actually, if you put them in the right schools and if you let them do the right internships and really catch on to what it is that they like and let them explore that area of life and develop their skills in that area. Sure, that's what you can do. But in the end, it's them that's going to choose. And if they choose to drop out of college and, I don't know, create an OnlyFans account and make money with that. It's not something you can do about. And this is the mistake that a lot of people are putting their energy into their circle of concern and wasting their energy there. What you're doing there is you're trying to control the uncontrollable. And in the end, that is going to cost you a lot of energy. However, if you focus your energy on your circle of influence, you're going to build momentum, you're going to build confidence, and that eventually can also expand your circle of influence into your circle of concern. So let me explain to you how that works. Because when I read this book a gazillion years ago, I read it when I was still working in a more corporate setting. And I basically read it to see if I could make my team work better. This time I'm rereading it and I'm actually figuring it out more as a person instead of a role that I'm coming from. So this means I'm actually seeing myself become a better mother, become a better entrepreneur, become a nicer wife, stuff like that. Self-knowledge is one of my most important values. So to know what I can actually do is something that interested me. And when the book told me that when you focus on your circle of influence, so what you can do directly, you're actually going to expand your circle of influence into your circle of concern. And I just figured, well, that's not true, because in the end, the only thing you can actually control is yourself. You can never control what someone else is thinking or doing, etc. But when you look at it like this, if you realize that in your circle of concern is what people think of you, you really hope that you can control what people think of you, how they perceive you as a person, which is why maybe you put on a nice mask when you speak to a camera, or when you behave a certain way, when you're teaching your clients, something like that. However, if you really dig deep into yourself, on your words, on what you want to give to your audience, what you want to teach them, etc., you're going to show up way more authentically, way more like you. And what's going to happen is that actually people will perceive that as you being more authentic, giving you more trustworthiness in the end, which makes it way more likely that they'll actually perceive you in the way that you wanted in the first place. So by doubling down, focusing on you and what you can do, you can actually expand your circle of influence. This is something I'm practicing a lot with my kiddos, where I don't just go around and tell them, you can do this, you can do that. Explain it a bit. Make them understand. And of course, my 6-year-old is more perceptible to this than my 3-year-old is, but I'm trying it nonetheless. And sometimes she gets it, and sometimes she just goes, poopies, because she's 3 and she won't get it. But now, for example, my older kid, Juliet, she needs to take off her shoes when she gets home from school, because she's always playing on the floor. She's going to scratch her new shoes. And I just said, you know what? I'm done with this. You need to take off your shoes when you get home and just put on your slippers. I've told her this a million times. But now I've actually made her responsible. So she made a nice little picture. She made a little drawing that she stuck on the wall on her eye height. So when she gets home, she sees the picture and then she goes to take off her shoes. So even like I put it in her circle of influence. I made her responsible, but I explained to her the process of making yourself responsible. So by showing her that I'm responsible for stuff like that, she sees that and just goes, oh, I'm responsible for things too. And that way I've expanded my circle of influence a bit. I hope that this is clear. What I did was I asked my good friend, ChatGPT, what are some areas of my life where I think that I'm operating in my circle of influence, but actually they're just in my circle of concern. And this is where it got interesting because, I mean, I've been feeding it information about me and the way I think for a long time now. So I love to ask to mirror stuff back to me because it's always just so accurate. And it gave me a few points. I'm just gonna read them to you. 6 points. Here we go. The first one. And this is why I wanted to share this, because I think, as I said, that this is going to be applicable to a lot of mothers and entrepreneurs out there, combination mompreneurs. The first one, the mood and energy of my family. It says, you want to create peace and harmony, so you try to influence it with structure, tone, and rituals, but it partly remains out of your influence. You can facilitate it, but you cannot force it. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I can tell my moody 6-year-old a gazillion times that she should be less mean to her sister, but she's gonna stay in a bad mood. And that's not something I can do about, even though I'm trying really hard to do it. So if you look at what I just said, how I am doubling down on my circle of influence to actually let it expand into this particular circle of concern area is, well, it already said it, rituals, for example. So I know that Juliet, she gets overwhelmed and very energetic from school, and then she'll get wild and she won't listen, and it's just one big mess. So one of the rituals that I'm actually doing with her is I'm learning her how to ground herself, how to do some breathing exercises. When she got really mad the other day and she was hitting her sister, and I just heard a whops, like a flash on flash smack, and then crying. I was like, oh, we're there again. Instead of getting really mad at her and trying to influence her in that way, we actually focused on her having a golden light in her heart. And I said, you're just going to sit here and focus on that golden light in your heart and just breathe until you feel the golden light expand. She's very visual. This is something she can do. So I'm teaching her these rituals that she can use to calm herself. And when she gets the habit of that, I have actually expanded my circle of influence a bit by teaching her that. Also, because that's still teaching her something, so trying to affect my circle of concern, I'm also showing her how I do it when I get mad at her, because I do get mad at her, and I'm not really ashamed of that. Like, there's a lot of people who should be ashamed of that, I think. I'm not. I get mad, but I also say I'm sorry. I also talk through what happened, and I also show her how I calm myself. So hopefully in that way I can show her how, if you've not managed to regulate your emotions in time, how you can correct it later on and get back on track again. Okay, the second one it gave me was the speed of others. And I felt this one to my core. Whether it's team members, contractors for the castle you're renovating, or your kids when they're putting on their shoes. I mean, kids putting on their shoes, like, doesn't that just... Ugh. You usually have planned 3 steps ahead, so when someone else goes slower, it feels like you need to do something, but their speed is not your responsibility. And for me, my ego dropped in here because I said, but it's my responsibility to get them to school on time. It's my business, so it's my responsibility that the deadlines are met. And when ego starts to flare up, it's time to take a closer look. In this case, I could split it up into 2 responsibilities that I can actually influence in my circle of influence. The first one is I'm responsible for the planning. I'm responsible that there is enough time in the mornings for them to put on their shoes in their own tempo. I am responsible that my team has the correct information so that they can do their jobs and meet the deadlines in time. It's my responsibility, my influence to plan for that. The second thing that I'm responsible for is the energetic responsibility. How do I react when others fuck up? So when my kids act like they are a bunch of snails, which they do quite often, or when one of my team members doesn't reach a deadline in time, I am responsible for how I react. And this always feels a bit wishy-washy to me. Like, "Oh, you need to react properly," but you need to react properly. Like, just do it. Be a nice person. I can stay calm and I can learn for a next time. So if I wake up my kids too late for school and they don't have time to put on their shoes in their snail's pace, it's my responsibility. And I can just say, you know what, tomorrow we're all going to get up 10 minutes earlier. So you have the time to do it this way. And the same goes for team members not giving you the things that you want on time. You know what? The next time I learned from this, the next time I'm going to give you this background information like a week earlier so you know how we're going to proceed with this project. Or I can also flip the fuck out and yell at my kids and just go, you need to put on your shoes quicker. But that's not going to actually make them put on their shoes quicker because they're kids. That's what they do. They are slow from time to time. And there's nothing you can do about it. So the only thing you can do is react properly and adjust your planning for the next time. Number 3, also important for a lot of us, the perception of others. You often carry that as if it's in your circle of influence, as if showing up perfectly or saying the right thing would change how others see you, but it's not. Their perception is their story. And this is something that hit home for me a ton. And I think that for a lot of my audience, this would work as well. I have a lot of my clients who are active on social media, who are putting themselves out there, who have a personal brand. And when you have a personal brand, it's important how others perceive you. It's as simple as that, because how they perceive you increases the likelihood or decreases the likelihood that they're actually going to buy from you, which is your end result for creating a personal brand. But the sentence that gave me their perception is their story, that hit me, because I can dance around on TikTok in my castle for as long as I want. But if someone who has like a backpack full of limiting beliefs about, oh, she lives in a castle, must be nice. Oh, she can dance, so she has moving legs, must be nice. She has long brown hair while I have mousy short hair that won't grow long, must be nice. Anything. People can have anything carrying around with them, but it's their story, and they will project their story onto you. So the only thing you can do is, as I just said previously as an example, is stay true to yourself and be clear about what it is that you want to bring to your audience, what you stand for, what you find important, what you would like to teach people. And then it's up to them how they're going to perceive it. There's nothing you can do about it. But, well, the more honest and authentic you are, the more likely that you'll actually be perceived as trustworthy. And, if you see me a bunch of times sitting in my castle, the first time you might just go, oh, how could she afford a castle in France? But when you actually get to know me, you'll know and figure out that it's also just a house, and a house that's falling apart at that. It's maybe it changes your view of me, but only if I actually stay true to myself. The fourth one is, I don't know if this will be applicable to everyone, but I'm going to share it anyway. It said, your body/health in short term. I was like, oh, short term. Yeah, okay. You often pushed through thinking that if you just plan better or discipline harder, you'll have more energy. But your body's rhythms, hormones, and recovery needs sit partly in your circle of concern. You can't control energy, you can only support it. So the reason I wanted to share this one anyway is because I know that a lot of female entrepreneurs with little kids are exhausted. And I think that a lot of us are making this mistake where you're just going, if I'm just pushing through, if I'm going to exercise every day, and if I'm going to do this and do that, and then I will get more energy. But as it says, there's a lot of things in short term that you can't do. You can't sit here and will your hormones to improve in the next 2 days. That's a process that takes time. The only thing you can do is develop good habits, healthy eating patterns, regular exercise schedule that actually gives you energy. For example, for me, don't put me in high intensity training. Like that's not good for me. That's not working. That's going to drain me further and further. However, if you're going to let me do short exercises, if you're going to let me bounce on my trampoline over there, stuff like that, I can do daily, and it's actually giving me more energy and also still building the health that I want in the long term. But if you're going to let me bounce on my trampoline today, I'm not going to magically be like 5 kilos lighter and have way more balanced hormones tomorrow. So this partly sit in your circle of concern, and the only thing you can do is adjust your habits to become better at it. Work with your body instead of against it. Number 5, it gave me, also sits with the speed of others that we just talked about. This is the pace of your business growth. And now maybe also your ego is going to be pushing back. Like, I can decide the pace of my business growth. Like, if I just work harder, I'm just going to be better at business. But okay, hold on. This is what it said to me. You sometimes act as if it's fully in your circle of concern, that if you just post more, tweak your funnel more, or find the right words, it will finally click. But parts of that belong in your circle of concern. You can't control the algorithm. You can't control the exact timing of momentum or when your audience is ready to buy. So the growth tip here is to shift your focus towards more consistently and trust instead of solely focusing on the outcome. If you keep showing up, if you keep refining your message, if you keep nurturing your people, the results will actually follow that, but you can control it. So again, the only things that you can do is see for yourself, how am I showing up for my business? And if that's something that is going well, the results will eventually follow. I have a template in Notion, which is so cool. It has your business goals, it has your sub goals, it has all the tasks, and it just plans it out perfectly. It's really nice. I'll put the link down below if you want to grab it as well. One of the things that we do in there automatically on like the first of every month gives you a prompt to reflect on the month previously, because I think that's the only way we can learn, is actually keep reflecting on what went well, what didn't go well. One of the things that I am always asking when it comes to reflecting on your business goals is, how did I show up? How did I show up? And maybe because, if you're set on getting 10 people into your new program, but you only got 8, you can really beat yourself up for it because you feel that it's in your circle of influence. That if you just worked harder, if you just put out more content, maybe you would have gotten the other 2 people as well. But if you actually showed up in a way that someone who would get the leads that she wanted to convert, if that's already the way you showed up, you can say, okay, so the rest of it was out of my control because it was the algorithm, or, maybe like I've done with the past few launches that I've done, I accidentally put them out on like major American holidays because they're not in my system. So I launched something on like the 4th of July, and I launched something on Thanksgiving last year. And I was like, yeah, that's not great. That was stupid on my part. Something I could have influenced. But, at the same time, there's a lot of people at the same time putting out a lot of information. So it's also not within my influence to figure out who actually saw it. It was not a good time, I don't know. This is a tricky area as well, because I think also that you could use this as an excuse instead of saying, I could have done something about it. How did you show up is something you really should be looking at, because you can always go, it's just not in my circle of influence how the algorithm works. So it's not my fault that people didn't see my stuff. And that's true. But if you are not being consistent out there, then the chances that the algorithm is going to show our stuff are actually decreasing a lot. So look at this carefully, where, what can I do something about? What can't I do something about? But also don't use it as an excuse to show up less than you could. Okay, the last one was like, oh yeah, truth bomb right there. 6, time itself. You sometimes treat time like something to control or manage directly, but time itself belongs in your circle of concern. What's in your circle of influence is how you use the time you do have and what you say yes or no to. I mean, all of us are complaining about having a lack of time, and there's so much to do, and I only have so few hours in a day before my kids get back from school or before nap time is over, stuff like that. But you can't control time. Like, the seconds will be ticking in the exact same way, whether you're making good use of your time or not. People love to say we have the same amount of hours as Beyonce, and we don't have the same resources to hire all the people she can hire. I have been known to get on my soapbox for that argument, but I'm not going there today. I just wanted to let you know that you do have, in fact, the same amount of time that she has. And the seconds are ticking the same for all of us. So you can control how you use your time. If you're in your focus hours on your computer, don't grab your phone and go scrolling through Instagram. That's not a good use of your time. If you don't have enough clarity on where you want to go with your business, on what your goals are, etc., then everything is going to feel like you don't have enough time because you don't know what you should be working on, what's going to get you there, because you don't know what there is. Get clarity first so you know what to say yes to and what to say no to, where to set boundaries, and then automatically you can use your time so much better already. I thought this was so very interesting, and I loved the truth bomb that my chat gave me, because these are in fact 6 areas where I like to think that I can control them, especially things like the snail's pace of my kids. Like, if I'm just putting enough fire on them, they'll actually move quicker. No, they won't. So yes, I love for you to give me a shout out. And, if you have something that you said, oh, I have the same thing, thanks for pointing out to me that I actually can't influence this, drop a comment. I would love to hear it. Thank you so much for tuning in to this little episode. Well, it's actually not little anymore because I took my time. I will drop a link in the notes for you to grab the Notion template where you can actually plan out everything so swimmingly. And I will also put a link for my upcoming challenge. It's called the Where the Fuck Should I Even Start challenge. And in 5 days, we're just going to get you clear on where it is you want to go, what's draining your time, where you can improve, and then you'll walk away with a 30-day action plan. Like, I'm going to guarantee that you're going to get your goal action plan, because that's not where we want to get you. I just want to get you into action so you know where the fuck you should start. And then when you go through your 30 days, you can see how that went and then set a new goal, create a new action plan. I just want to get you moving again, because I think that a lot of us always say, I'm feeling stuck, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I want to snap you out of that and just get you moving again in a direction that you actually want to go, skipping the things that are keeping you off balance. So if that's something that sounds fun to you, the upcoming challenge is good for you. I promise to make it short. All the exercises that are in there, you'll get an email daily with it, and then it will only take you about 20 to 30 minutes each day, because I know you're already short on time. So let's not do something where you need to spend 2 hours every day to get you moving. No, I want this to be short and sweet and get you going. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Not That Kind of CEO. If this episode gave you clarity, encouragement, or just even a moment to breathe, I'd love it if you left a review. It helps more women like you find this show, and that means the world to me. And if you're ready to build a business that fits your life, you know where to find me. See you in the next episode.